Welcome to the Spiritual and Empowerment Living with Tia podcast, a sacred place and resource for spiritually centered women who want to go from the mundane to the magical life, for overcoming fear and doubt, reconnecting with the goddess, understanding messages from spirit, and uncovering your spiritual gifts so you can finally live the life you deserve. Hello and welcome back to another episode. This is going to be fun. And I say that because for February, it's considered the month of love. And I recently found that out. I've known February to be, when I was a young kid, a very cold month that no one really cares about. Let's move on to, Valentine's Day, to, Black History Month. And now to, okay, we can focus on love. I think we can focus on love 365 and, 24/7, including leap years, all that jazz. Excuse me. Nevertheless, here we are. And we're going to dive into love and romance and sex throughout this month. So I have some amazing guests coming on the show to talk about some ancient love practices, rituals. It's going to be fun. So I'm excited for these guests. So you just got to hang tight. You got to hear me for one more episode before we dive into some of the good stuff. Well, it's all good stuff, but a little bit more of the juicier good stuff. Before I dive into love goddesses, I want to give you an update. Make sure that you visit the blog at tiamariejohnson.com. Today's blog post is the crown chakra of the chakra series. There's one more chakra blog post coming out on Monday, and we will have wrapped it up for now. There's so many more chakras I could get into, but I'm going to stop it on Monday, and then we're moving on to protection magic. Okay. Excuse me. The protection magic post will be a series. It's shorter than the chakra series. Okay. So I'm very excited. You're going to learn different forms of protection magic, which is very important, especially when we have to, excuse me, deal with people at work. Just deal with people in general. Let's face it, people in general. And I know you know what I'm talking about. So learning protection magic is helpful on many levels. Some people don't like looking at protection magic or hexes, and I talked about that in my episode with Alexis, also known as the Witch of LA, Glamour Witch LA on Instagram. So you can scroll back and check that out. It was a great interview. One of the most listened to interviews last year. I'll actually give you the episode number so you don't have to spend so much time scrolling down because I'm a nice person. So that was episode 284, Hexing and Other Misconceptions with the Glamour Witch, Alexis Jackson. Mercury retrograde ends on the 21st of this month, okay? So just be a little more cautious when you communicate with people, among other things. All right, let's get to it. Love goddesses, how they can help you, how we can work with them. I think it's important because we are already tapped into this energy. I know some people look at certain holidays and just events overall and can easily say that it's commercialized or it's overhyped. But if you listen to my previous episode, Bridget's Day and Imbolc, you would know the origins of Valentine's Day and really how it transpired over the years. And at the end of the day, it's really what you make it. As I said at the top of this episode, every day is a love day, right? When we can make it a love day. Every day isn't roses and, rainbows. I wish it was. That'd be pretty cool. We all have our days, but you know what I mean. Um, don't look at it as, oh, this is a commercialized thing for me to do this and that. You're missing the point. Again, that's their lane. That's the business lane. That's people who want to do that. That's their lane. Okay. Now, if you're someone who's like, I believe we don't need a holiday to express our love. That's amazing. That's awesome. Kudos to you. Welcome to the show. All right. So that's one reason is because we're already tapped into a lot of this energy, whether or not we want to admit it. I knew this is back when I was in high school. One girl was bitter about Valentine's Day, and I just asked her, I just said, is it because you don't have a boyfriend? And I didn't mean that in a bad way. I'm just someone who likes to get to the bottom of things. Like what's the real issue? Even when I had several talks over the years with Uber drivers during the holiday season, they would say things like, oh, it's commercialized. Oh, I don't buy into that. And I would say, well, it is what you make it. And then they go, well, that's true. And one guy actually, he stopped celebrating Christmas after his wife died. She was the matriarch of the family. She decorated like it was her thing, and he enjoyed it. And Christmas reminded him of her, and so he just stopped celebrating. I totally get it, but he projected that as Christmas being other than something that can be special and really like a nice sacred time. And I get it because it was vulnerable. It was him showing his vulnerability to say, well, actually, my wife died, and Christmas was her thing. It was our thing, and since she died, I didn't want to do. That takes a lot for someone to say that, and I acknowledge that. So when I asked the girl that, it was because she didn't have a boyfriend, and I want to change that in society. We shouldn't feel a certain way, a bad way, also because we don't have a boyfriend or a girlfriend or whatever a person or however a person identifies themselves. Um, and if we are involved, sometimes our partner is not romantic or they don't buy into that and the other person does. And it's like, well, I like it. Can I get a gift or, something or spend some time together? So, it goes both ways. I get it. So in addition to already being really tapped into it, whether we acknowledge it or not, there's something to be said about expressing love, acknowledging love, self-love. There's multiple forms of love, platonic love, romantic love. I'm sure there's other loves that I can't even think of right now. So let's tap into that. One thing that came to mind earlier today was that there are no rules. It's weird. It's like, yeah, there are rules, such as don't steal from other people. If you get caught or it's found out that you stole from, your neighbor, and if they press charges, you're probably going to jail. You know, um, don't kill people. you know, um, Maybe if it's for self-defense reasons, you can justify it, but don't rob and kill someone or whatever. So yeah, I get those rules. Makes sense. It keeps things in order. It provides a certain level of decorum in society, while some people don't need it because they're just like, yeah, I know I don't steal. That's not my thing. Other people don't have a moral compass, and then it's a spectrum, right? It could be that someone is homeless, that they lost their job and they need to eat, and they need the food. I totally get that. That's why we have to look at things with a case by case basis lens, right? I understand it. But we do have rules to keep, like I said, a certain level of decorum in society. But then I thought about I thought about things I want to do in my life, things people want to do in their life. And there really are no rules when it comes to that. What you want to do in life, It's really up to you. How we go about that is up to you. There's so many ways to do things, and we look at different cultures like, oh, that's what they eat for breakfast. Well, here, this is what we eat for breakfast. Well, it's kind of an unwritten rule that this is what's breakfast in the US versus breakfast in France or the UK, right? It's like, oh, that's how they do it there. It opens your mind to the possibilities, is what I'm saying. There's no rule for breakfast. It's just over the years, people were able to say, you know what? These groups of food make good breakfast food for X reason, or whatever the case may be. But it's not you. Nothing's going to happen to you if you don't eat eggs in the morning. If you decide to eat soup instead, right? So what I'm saying here is, let's take the time to look inward and ask ourselves, how do we define love? What did that look like for us? What does that feel like for us? Really dive into the senses, right? What do I hear about love? What does that taste like? Is it candy? Is it chocolate? What is that? What does it smell like? Is it cinnamon? Because that's an aphrodisiac. Is it cinnamon? Is it my favorite vanilla flavor? What is it? What is love? Okay, what does that look, see, feel, taste like? What does that sound like? Is it, your lover saying your name? Is it your kids calling you mommy? Is it your friend calling you by your nickname? How do you define love? What does that look like? We always have to start inward. And I teach that, I talk about it, especially before we start dealing with goddesses or other spiritual beings, before we decide to do any kind of magical work. We have to do a test on ourselves, check our thermometer. Where are we at? All right. And that requires a little bit of shadow work, you know, to look at, have we denied ourselves love in the past, and if we did, why? If we've been unfortunate in the love department, why? Okay, and maybe everything's been okay. Everything doesn't have to be this bad, horrible story where someone overcame something, and I don't mean that in a bad way, because some people do have really bad. It's like, wow, that shouldn't happen to anybody's story. Okay. And then there are other times where people dated a few times, nothing really came out of it. And, it's not really a bad story. It's just meh. Cough, cough. That's me. Cough, cough. So, there are times when nothing bad happens. It's just nothing spectacular happened, you know. So start looking inward, start doing some shadow work, start understanding love on your terms, not how someone else wants to define it for you, because your love will look different than someone else's love. Okay. Your love may be you with your husband and your children, and that's perfect. Or it could be you and two other partners, and you guys work well together. I read several articles about a woman who has two boyfriends, and it works for them. That's their lifestyle. I'm not here to judge. That's what works for you. I'm not going to tell you that you need to be in a monogamous relationship, and how dare you? That's what works for you. That has no bearing on my life. Or maybe love for you is your dog. You're not interested in dating. You're cool. You like being by yourself. I also know people who are just like, I'm good. I'm happy with my cat, my dog. I travel. I get to do what I want to do. And the list goes on and on. This is why I stress this to people. What works for you? How do you define it? Because if you don't start defining stuff for yourself, you're going to take someone else's definition. And it may not be the best definition for you. So just be true to yourself. And I'm telling you, as the saying goes, there's a lid for every pot. You're going to find your match. Okay, but the background work needs to be done. So what needs to be said before we start diving into this. So I'm going to give you a list of goddesses you can connect with across different civilizations. Okay, and I know some questions come up, such as, well, can I work with this goddess if that's not part of my heritage? Yes. Okay, I work with many goddesses across different pantheons, and really is about doing your research. Okay. So imagine if you really want to be friends with someone, right? And let's say they're a little bit of a celeb, okay? You guys have all the same interests, but you really want a genuine friendship with them. You feel like this person, from what you have seen, is a pretty cool person to hang out with. So what is the thing you're probably going to do? You're going to do some research on that person, right? You want to connect with them. You want to have some common ground. I'm not saying be a crazy stalker, but if you are attracted to someone, I'm just saying that like as a friendship, like, hey, like we have some commonality, it seems, you're going to do a little bit more research. Like, oh, okay, they are, I don't know, they also grew up in my hometown or something like that. Like, some basic stuff you can find that you would bring up. And it's easy. I said it many times. I'm located in Philly, and I had people reach out to me. Hey, I grew up in Philly, or hey, like I would love to be on your podcast, because, you said this, blah, blah, blah. I'm also from Philly. That's cool. Like, oh gosh, we found a common ground. They did a little bit of their homework. They listened to a couple of episodes, or they saw something where I posted it somewhere. And now we got that point of reference. Or 3 years ago when the Eagles won the Super Bowl, people said, "Hey, congratulations on that." And and then we started talking about business. So I like that, and that's how it is with goddesses and any spiritual being, in particular, who you want to contact. Do the research. Don't skip out on the research, because when you do this is how you know who you're connecting with, right? So I'm going to give you names of goddesses, and I'm going to talk about briefly who they are so you can connect with them. And then you can do a Google search. I'm always encouraging you to do extra, work, a little homework, but it's fun. It's part of the craft and the journey is to discover and read more and go down that rabbit hole. That's the best way for you to figure out what truly works for you. All right, and then we'll talk about how they can help and how we can work with them. I discussed in previous episodes how we can work with goddesses and in a safe space, and that's also where the protection magic blogs will help too, because I actually talk about how we can create a safe space to work with spiritual beings. All right, so I am on my favorite website for these researchers, Learn Religions. I was going to bring out one of my many books on goddesses that provided a list, but I thought, you know what? Let me go to the website that's been giving me great information that I really enjoy. So this article is by Patty Wigington. Hopefully I pronounced that right. And again, Learn Religion's website. Now, this is for deities of love and marriage, but of course, if marriage isn't for you, that's okay. I also have another list. Scrolling back up here. Ancient goddesses of love and fertility. And of course, again, the fertility part, if you don't want kids, that's okay. You can also think about giving birth to ideas, business goals, things like that. So there are many ways to look at fertility. I like to, acknowledge that not every woman wants to get married or have kids. All right. So I read these articles ahead of time and I thought they were pretty good. And she also has a few male deities in here that you can connect with that I thought was really cool too. I see so many goddesses of love, especially Aphrodite. She's the most referenced one, of course. But, there are others. And I like that there's the male aspect there. So let's dive into this. Aphrodite was a Greek goddess of love and sexuality, a job she took very seriously. Okay, she was married to Hepatostos. Again, I apologize for butchering these names. Sometimes I can practice them. Other times it catches me off guard. But again, learnreligions.com. But she also had a multitude of lovers. Okay, and one of her favorite was the warrior god Ares. All right, and then it goes and talk about her festival, appropriately called Aphrodisiac. Oh my gosh, I did not put that together. Stop. Look at what we just learned. Well, it's called Learn Religions. Okay, a festival was held regularly to honor Aphrodite, appropriately named the Aphrodisiac. So, Aphrodisiac stems from Aphrodite. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to press pause real quick and I'm going to do a little background check on the word aphrodisiac because it's literally spelled like Aphrodite, but they dropped the TE and added a Zach. So hang tight. I'll be right back. I'm going to do this research for you guys. Okay, I feel like this is a trivia question. So, the great thing about learning the history of words, events, holidays is that one, it's great to know the history. Okay, we need to know the history. Two, it is an eye opener because so much plays into our common lexicon that we don't realize it. But it is important because it's easy to forget. It's easy to just, I don't want to say take it for granted because it's not so much we taking words for granted, but it's easy not to see the correlation and become even further disconnected from the old ways. Not saying every single old way is the best way. Some things it's like, okay, we don't need to be sacrificing people and doing all that nasty stuff, but we could take some of the other historical things and apply it to some modern day ways. So anyway, let's check this out. Oh, and then it's a trivia question. That's the third point I wanted to make. You never know. So I'm big on trivia. I love it. Like I told you before in previous episodes, I used to go to trivia with my friends every Thursday, and we used to win practically every time. To the point where some of the other teams got jealous. And okay, so quick story. I don't think I told this part. Actually, I didn't. So, in one of the most recent of the previous episodes, I mentioned that we won so many times. We used to get gift certificates. And so one of the last times we went, I took home the gallon of beer, like it was like a big jug of beer, and they made it at the brewery, which also hosted the trivia nights. So that's how many times we went. Like, Tia, you take this home this time. Cool. It's my turn to take home the beer. But what happened was the next time we went, some of the other groups complained that we were cheating because there was a lot of people at our table. Okay, well, from what I can recall, I don't think there was a group limit. Maybe it was 5 or 6 people, 5 or 6 coming to my mind. So maybe it's 5 or 6, but not everyone at our table participated. Some people didn't care. They just wanted to hang out with us, eat the wings, drink the beer. So it really wasn't that many people active at our table. So let's say we had about maybe any given night we'll have about maybe 10 to 12 people, maybe a little bit less. Maybe I'm overcounting. Maybe like 9 people, maybe. But yeah, but we had some really good people on our team that just knew their stuff. Like me and about 4 other people really were really good at it. And we didn't check our phones. There was no cheating, but other groups thought that we were. And I'm thinking to myself, well, if you thought that we were cheating, you had to look at us, right? And you would have seen that there are people who had, you know, wing sauce on their fingers. Like you have to write down on a piece of paper your answers. So if you, you thought enough or supposedly knew enough to think that we were cheating, but you couldn't tell that there was really only a couple people with their heads down and discussing, whispering like we're in a secret coven and, writing stuff down on a sheet of paper. You didn't see that. You didn't see like a person with a pen in their hand and just a couple of people huddled together. You didn't see that. So anyway, the next time we went, the the host came to us and said, "Hey guys, people are saying blah blah blah." You could tell he didn't really care that much, that it was all baloney, but whatever, he got to do his job. So all we did was separated the tables, and we still won. It's like one time we didn't win, but whatever. That's a little sidebar there. So anyway, back on track, or rewind, or more like bringing it back. Here's Aphrodisiac. The name comes from Greek Aphrodisiac, Aphrodisiac. I don't know. I'm going to stop butchering it. Also, or it has IE there, sexual aphrodisiac from Aphrodisios, pertaining to Aphrodite, the Greek goddess of love. Through human history, food, drinks, and behaviors have made a reputation. So yeah, aphrodisiac literally comes from the goddess Aphrodite. So the next time some muggle comes to you to tell you about your evil ways and dealing with the devil, just say the next time you eat cinnamon, know that that's an aphrodisiac, and know that it came from goddess Aphrodite, and you can thank her. So I'm just saying. Among other things you could tell them, but we're not going to go there in this episode because I have other episodes to address people like that. So, so there was a festival that was regularly held to honor Aphrodite, appropriately called Aphrodisiac. Can you have a love festival over the weekend and name it Aphrodisiac? You most certainly can. Go get your mate or mates, and well, you guys are probably in the same home because we're in a pandemic, and so put your mask on, go to Party City, go get some balloons and stuff, go get the lights that turn to different colors, the red and the blues, and have an aphrodisiac, your festival, your love festival. Okay. So it states here that people at her temple pay tribute to her by having rambunctious sex with her priestesses. Also, those temples were sacred, so it was sacred sex. Not putting on this like pedestal, but that's what it was. And of course, they got demonized over the years. Again, that's a completely separate episode, but just know that there were temples and there were the sex priestesses there, and it was a way of helping the people. It was a lot that was involved in those temples, but it was held as a sacred practice. And of course, like I said, things where women take the charge get demonized over the years, and they get called names and things like that. But yeah, there were sacred temples, which is pretty cool when you read about it. Okay, so and of course was destroyed, states here by the Romans. Okay, so that's enough of that. You can connect with goddess Aphrodite. Now, I know in a lot of ways she gets depicted as very like elegant and nice, but don't get it twisted. She is direct. She's a little mischievous, likes to have a little fun. I mean, come on, she has multiple lovers. So she likes to have a little fun. So if you want to connect with her, just be ready. Like with any of these deities, don't think of them as humans. Like I know we see them look as humans, but they can be shapeshifters, change their hair color, whatever. So what you want to do is focus on the vibe, the energy, get to know her symbols. I talk about Aphrodite in my, do I talk about her in my first book? No, there are 13 goddesses in there, and I am trying to remember at this moment. I'm drawing a blank. I would have to double check that for you. But again, focus on the symbols. Okay, Aphrodite is in my first book, To Be Goddess. All right. So I have here Grecan goddess of beauty, love, and pleasure. We talked about that earlier. Some of her symbols include the ocean, seashells, golden apples, the mirror, triangle, dolphin, dove, and swan. So if you start seeing more of those symbols animals and so forth, know that Goddess Aphrodite is looking to connect with you. Okay, let's move along. Now, of course, we have Cupid, and it states here in ancient Rome, Cupid was the incarnation of Eros, the god of lust and desire. All right, and of course, over the years, like things happen, they become different things in society. So it states here he typically is seen on Valentine's Day cards and decorations, and is invoked as a god of pure love and innocence, a far cry from his original form. Again, just focus on going back and doing a little more research. So it states here Eros, although not specifically a god of love, Eros is often evoked as the god of lust and passion. This son of Aphrodite was a Greek god of lust and primal sexual desire. In fact, the word erotic comes from his name. Oh my gosh. There's another trivia question. Okay, so the word erotic comes from the god Eros. Write this down. Right, I'm telling you guys, it's going to pop up. It's going to happen. I feel it. I love this. Oh my gosh. I had AP, was it literature in high school, and part of it was studying the origin of words, and I was in heaven. I couldn't believe it. I'm such a nerd for this. Oh my gosh. All right, so anyway, it states here he is typically shown blindfolded because, after all, love is blind, and carrying a bow which he shots arrows at his intended targets. Love is blind. I like that, but also not so much. I think part of falling in love, or just loving something, is because you experience, something about them that makes you love them even more. I get what it's saying, but you could take the blindfold off, but I get it. All right. Okay, let's see here. He is personified in all kinds of love and lust, heterosexual and homosexual, and was worshipped at the center of a fertility cult that honored both Eros and Aphrodite together. Okay, and then over time he evolved into Cupid. So you can just connect with Eros and get erotic. Cool. All right, moving along. Frigga. Frigga. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. She was the wife of, the wife of Odin. It's considered a goddess of fertility and marriage within the Norse pantheon. She is the one besides Odin who is allowed to sit on his throne, or the only one, excuse me, to sit on his throne, and she is known as the Queen of Heaven. And it states here that many pagans honor her as a goddess of both marriage and prophecy. Hathor, Egyptian. She is the wife of sun god Ra. Hathor is known in the Egyptian legend as the patroness of wives. In most classical depictions, she is portrayed either as a cow goddess or with a cow nearby. It is her role as a mother that is most often seen. Okay, and then later she was associated with fertility, love, and passion. Hera. Now she gets a bad rap. Hera was the Greek goddess of marriage, and as the wife of Zeus, Hera was the queen of all wives. Although she fell in love with Zeus, he wasn't, of course, faithful to her. And it says she's centered around the hearth and home, and focused on family and relationships. Hera played a crucial role in the story of the Trojan War. Yeah, yeah. All right, and then it just talks more about how she was slighted by the Trojan prince Paris. Nothing that has to do with what we're talking about, but you get it. All right, Parvati Hindu. Again, hopefully I'm pronouncing this right. She was the consort of the Hindu god Shiva and is known as the goddess of love and devotion. She is one of many forms of Shakti, the all-powerful female force in the universe. Her union with Shiva taught him to embrace pleasure, and so in addition to be being a destroyer god. Shiva is also a patron of the arts and dance. Parvati is an example of female entity who has a profound effect on the male in her life. For without her, Shiva would not be complete. So this is also another thing I wanted to talk about, devotion. Again, think about what that means for you. Everything that falls under love, think about what that means for you. And to have that all-powerful female force. Oh my gosh. To tap into that, unstoppable. So think about that as you are listening to what I'm reading and see what vibes with you. Okay. And of course, there's Venus, also known as Aphrodite here. Let me see. Oh, so okay, I actually do want to mention this one. So Vesta, and this is the Roman goddess, and it has it that she's the goddess of virginity. Virginity does not mean not having or never have had sex. That's a word that got redefined over the years, but in ancient times, it really was in relation to newness. Okay, being like innocent and pure, but not in a sense of never having sex, just in a sense of, you're just new to something. You have that innocence to you. Like when you see a puppy, it's pure, it's innocent, it's whole, it's a puppy, right? To say a puppy is innocent, oh, like that's so pure because it's just so innocent. Okay, it's not pure in a sense of that is a pure bred Rockwelder, like no. It's like it's a puppy. Like look how innocent it is. It hasn't been, harmed. Okay, so again, when you read about these goddesses and see virginity, it's not the modern definition. For example, another one was Athena, and she was a virgin, does not mean the same. Okay, that's something that some messed up guys decided to put on women. All right. All right. So she was honored by Roman women along with Juno. Vesta status represented purity. There you go. And honor of Roman women at their time in marriage. So it was important to keep her in high regard. Okay. And she is the earth and part of being domestic, the internal flame that burns in the village resulted in her festival Vestella, which is celebrated each year in June. So when you want to focus more on your home, the love for your home, the love for that sacred space, the warmth you feel, making your home a sanctuary, making the place that you love to come to be in, to, live in, connect with Vesta. Actually, a lady who is in my cohort of the mastermind I'm in, she just renamed, oh, I'm sorry, no, she named it Hestia, I think, or maybe it wasn't. But it was one of the goddesses that had to do with the home and the hearth. Okay, so we're done that list for love and marriage. So I wanted to break this up before I talk about the other more goddesses of love and fertility, and talk about a little bit more how you can work with them. So I talked about how they can help. Okay, they can help us with expressing our love, like Aphrodite with her Aphrodisiac. That's her festival. Eros, to learn how to be, experience, get in that erotic zone. So, just looking at my notes here, there are so many ways goddesses and the gods can help us, and we really set the tone. So, why I talked about aphrodisiac, erotic, the home, the hearth, fertility, all that. It's whatever the tone is for you. Okay, so just keep that in mind. So when you get ready to work with them, which is what we're diving into right now, work with them, think about what you want. Okay? Because you didn't really get to tell them how to do something, right? It's you creating a space where you connect with them and you put in a request. Basically, you're asking for help. Like, hey, can you help me with this? Like, I desire XYZ. So, to work with them, you can make this as simple or as intricate as you like. So, you can do things like cast a circle and call that goddess or god to the circle. You can have some fruits available. You can create an altar where you have a bowl of fruit. You have a candle. Of course, you got to monitor the candle, maybe some incense, maybe a statue of them, a crystal, whatever you want on that altar. Okay. And you go to that altar, you will pray right there, or you'll take deep breaths, hold your hands over it. Okay. You can go outside and meditate outside. You can dance, okay? Move your hips while you're thinking of these goddesses. And as soon as you feel like you're at your all-time high when you're dancing, like you're just dancing, like you're 3 songs in and you're just like, oh, I'm feeling it. This is my song. I know all the words to this song. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, Aphrodite, like I'm really working hard on this and I would love your help in attracting my desires. I'm really working on manifesting, and then you list, the person who you want to manifest in your life. Please send me guidance, Aphrodite, beautiful goddess of love, goddess of, I think like sea foam too. Like it gets so specific, like goddess of the ocean. Well, not goddess of the ocean, but you know what I mean. She's associated with the ocean. So you could just, say stuff like that. Beautiful, loving, goddess, stuff like that. I welcome you into this circle. Um, Please, bestow messages upon me or guide me, direct me, help me step out of my comfort zone, whatever it is, right? And then you would sit back in the way. So it's even if you were dancing and you're talking about Aphrodite, yes, help me bring this man into my life who's emotionally available, financially stable. He's funny. You're dancing and doing all that, right? And then you just let it go. You just breathe it all out. You let it go. And then you wait for visions. You're dancing. You might receive a vision. You might hear something. You might feel something. Tap into all that. That's why you hear me talk about the senses so much, because that's where we feel it. If you're clairsentient, you might feel it in your chest. To like, oh yeah, you know what? Yeah, I feel like I should be doing this. You're clairaudient, you might hear something like, oh, you know what? Yeah, I should go to that store real quick, or I should buy that outfit that's been in my cart for 3 months because it's sexy and I like it. I was trying to justify the price or just buying it in general, but you know what? God damn it, I'm going to buy it. That's how that works. So that's how you can work with them. Create an altar, cast a circle, work within a circle, dance. Make sure you're really moving your hips. Dance like no one's watching. Dance like you got money on the line. Okay. To work with them, and you're basically having a conversation. And again, you can make it as simple or as intricate as you want. So that's kind of the simple thing. I know someone probably like, dancing is not simple for me, Tia. When no one's watching, dance becomes super simple. Um, I'm not even asking you to dance on beat. I'm saying just dance. Just move the hips. It's like which one was it? Waterboy. It's all in the hips. It's all in the hips. When Adam Sandler's being taught how to play golf, was it Carl Weathers was teaching him, like, it's all in the hips. Okay, so move the hips. It's nothing else. Move the hips and do a 2-step. If you can't do that, visualize yourself dancing. Move your fingers. Do a little. Sit in your seat and move. But again, you can visualize it because your mind doesn't know the difference. Um, other ways to connect, but not so much having a conversation. So what I mentioned before, the altar, you pray over the altar, conversation, casting a circle, invite them in, conversation, dancing, conversation. Other things you can do to work with them is watch documentaries, watch movies about these gods and goddesses. I mean, with Aphrodite, that's going to be very easy. People talk about her time and time and time again. Reading a book about them and connecting that way where you read something like, oh, you know what? I'm going to buy me a dolphin statue. I actually had a dolphin trinket in the past, which is interesting that I just got reminded of that. And it had like the stars and stuff on the inside and had that liquid that made all the stuff move around back and forth. Where did I get that from? That's a nice little memory that popped up. Probably the New Jersey State Aquarium field trip, school field trip. But anyway, you might get that. You might write what you desire in the love department and burn it, right? Send it up to Aphrodite um or Parvati, you know. All right, so let's get back. Now we have ancient goddesses of love and fertility. We are still on Learn Religion's website. Aphrodite popped up again, of course. Ishtar is here. When I first came across Ishtar, and I hope I pronounced it right, it's probably Ishtar. It was just such a powerful energy. I mean, it was just like I am here. Like I literally heard I am, you know. So she is a Babylonian goddess of love, procreation, and war. She was the daughter and consort of the air god Anu. She was known for destroying her lovers. Oh wow, including a lion, a stallion, and a shepherd. When the love of her life, the farm god Tasmu, died, she followed him to the underworld, but she was unable to retrieve him. Ishtar was the heir to the Sumerian goddess Inanna, but was more promiscuous. She is called the cow of sin, a moon god. She was the wife of a human king, Sargon of Agadi. Again, I apologize if I mispronounce the names. I feel like I said that a bajillion times. Okay, and okay, it goes on to talk about other things in our history. It says she is the queen of heaven and associated with the planet Venus. Interesting. All right, moving along. So she has a connection with Aphrodite as well. Okay, Inanna. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. I feel like I have heard this. I know I've heard this before because it's in one of the songs that I listen to. All right, so she was the oldest of the love goddesses of the Mesopotamian region. She was the Sumerian goddess of love and war, although she is regarded as a virgin. Remember what I said about that. Inanna is a goddess responsible for sexual love, procreation, and fertility. She gave herself to the first mythological king of Summer, or I guess a Sumer, Dumuzi. All right, and she was worshipped from the third millennium and was still worshipped into the sixth as a goddess driving a seven-lion chariot. That sounds pretty badass, honestly. All right, so she is there as a goddess to help you with sexual love, procreation, and fertility. Okay, just like Ishtar is there for or to help you with love, procreation, and war. So if you're going to war, keep her in mind. Um, yeah, you never know. All right. The next one we have here, pretty much the same as starting or as start here. A Semitic goddess of sexual love, maternity, and fertility. The consort of El. Okay, and it just goes on to talk more about her story. Which, oh, this is actually pretty interesting. Okay, now we are at Hathor. And she is an Egyptian goddess who sometimes wears a sun disk with horns on her head and sometimes appears as a cow. And she can destroy mankind, but is also patron of lovers and a goddess of childbirth. Hathor nursed the infant Horus when he was being hidden from Seth. So if you are close to giving birth, you might want to connect with her. Isis, an Egyptian goddess of magic, fertility, and motherhood, was the daughter of the god Keb, earth, and the goddess Nut, probably, sky. She was the sister and wife of Osiris. And when her brother Seth killed her husband, we know the story. She searched for his body parts, reassembled it. The only part she couldn't find was his phallus, and she made it out of gold. Um, she is also often depicted with cow horns and the solar disc between them. But she also usually see her with wings too, from time to time. So you would like to connect with her if you want to deal more with magic, fertility, and motherhood. The magic of motherhood. How about that? Freya. She's the Norse goddess of love, magic, and divination. So if you want to divinate about your love life, Freya would be the one you want to connect with. Okay, so it goes on to talk about who she's the daughter of, and she was loved by men, giants, and dwarves. She was a hot number. Everyone wanted her. And then the story goes that she slept with 4 dwarves to acquire the Brizine necklace. So also another story I read that each dwarf represented a season. So it was also symbolic of her going through each season to obtain that necklace with what it represents. So when we go through a season, we complete a cycle, and that completion can be represented in many ways. When we look back at our life in a year, it's like, well, what did we complete? And sometimes we can see like, oh, well, I bought a house this year. That could be your necklace, whatever your season is. So anyway, I thought that was pretty interesting that she just, took her sexuality into her own hands. And she's like, dwarf, men, or giant, don't matter to me. Freya traveled in a gold bristle boar and a chariot pulled by 2 cats. And sometimes she is depicted as being naked too, because she's really in tune with her body and she's not ashamed. She is here, okay, full force. All right, and that ends the list. So as a quick recap, we have Aphrodite, Cupid, Eros, which we know Cupid was once Eros, Frigga, Hathor, Hera, Parvati, Venus, Vesta. Okay. Moving right along. We have Ishtar, Inanna, Astarte, Hathor, Isis, Freya. There you go. So I don't think I got into the intricate part. That's what it was. When working with these goddesses and gods, you can make your rituals, your connection intricate by wearing comfortable clothes, the color of that goddess, that god, wherever they're associated with. Or since we're going the love route, you can wear red, pink. If you think of love with the color, I don't know, purple, maybe purple is your favorite color, and maybe you look sexy in purple, go with purple, right? Make sure that you're setting the tone where you feel like this creates the love atmosphere. For example, when I see people's Instagram posts already for Valentine's Day or just like love in general, they have the flowers, they got the candles going. The background set, like that feels like love. It feels like a sacred love spot. Like I want to go there. Like this is great. So you could get flowers, orange, red, pink. You can you can also get maybe green because you might think, you know what, the heart chakra color is green, and I want to focus more on empathy, that form of love, understanding. Okay, you want to connect with the heart chakra and do that? Totally fine. If you want to do all pink, you're like, you know what, I'm going to get a rose quartz and I'm just going to have pink and white. You can do that. Remember, the kicker is that there are no rules. Almost, right? It's like you got to do the research to make sure you're connecting properly, at least. Um, then, so you got the loose clothes or the comfortable clothes. If you want to wear clothes, you could do a sky clad, right? You could do it naked. Depends. So you could do that. And remember, we always want to appeal to the senses. So get some flowers, if you like the smell of certain flowers, get that. And if you're allergic, you don't like it, and you can't find one of those flowers that you're not allergic to, use your favorite perfume or lotion, incense, candles, something that can change the smell. Get those little Glade plugins or whatever, or go to Bed Bath and Beyond. I don't know, maybe they're having their semi-annual sale or something like that. Go buy their candles, buy their plugins, have your house smelling good, right? And then maybe you can bake a bread or a pie, add some cinnamon in there. Okay, now you got the taste going, or you could just have a drink, maybe like iced tea or a glass of wine. Okay, have the music playing in the background. Have a playlist. Have like a 2-hour playlist. Okay, I'm not saying you had to be in that zone of that, meditative and heightened energy for 2 hours. I'm just saying, so you won't have any interruptions. The worst thing you want to happen is midway through your connection with the gods or goddesses is that the music stops and you're just like, oh wait, what happened to the mood? Or you didn't hit, like repeat song and it goes to the next song and the next song starts off loud and banging and clanging and boom, you're like, knocked you right out that meditative state. So have a playlist set for at least an hour. All right. But an hour could go by fast. That's why I said two. So actually just make it 2 hours. An hour can go by fast, especially when you're meditating. There's no time zone with that. So a playlist set for 2 hours. If you don't know what to put on there, Google love playlist, Aphrodite playlist, go to Spotify. It's really not hard. Just Google a few keywords. Okay. Now, think about what you want to do because we got the clothes, we got the food, we got the drink, we got the mood set, with the whole background, the candles, the flowers, the music. Dim the lights or have one of those things that the little light that changes the color is popular now. You got your little remote control, you can change the colors or whatever. And you got to figure out what you want to do. Do you want to write a letter, burn a letter, safely in like a cauldron? I have a mini cauldron. I can write on a sheet of paper. I fold the paper and then I burn it in the cauldron. Do you want to do candle magic where you stare into the candle? Do you want like nothing besides the food and the drink and you just want to invite, Aphrodite in the circle? What do you want to do while you're in the circle? Bring those materials with you in the circle. Okay. Pen, paper. Okay. A cup of water. Whenever I am using fire, I make sure, just for safety purposes, I have some kind of liquid nearby, a bottle of water or something like that. So just in case the fire gets out of hand, I could douse it quickly. Okay. Make sure you have your materials. You can Google love rituals. Okay. And think about the type of love you want to address while you're there. Is it like I said earlier, empathy, understanding, because you need more of that in your life. You haven't been understanding. You've been too hard on yourself and you're just like, you know what? I need that. And another goddess that's not mentioned here is Quan Yin. She's a goddess also of empathy, that form of love. And I talk about her in my first book. I'm opening up the book now to read you what I have here. Isis is my first book. Actually, let me tell you a few symbols of the goddesses that are in my book. So, Isis, okay, full moon, circular disc with horns, headdress, cobra, sparrowhawk, crab, and the, what's it called? The Ankh, Ankh, Freya, the Northern Lights, sword, spinning wheel, the day Friday. So you might want to do a ritual on a Friday. Cat, sparrow, horses, falcons. Quan Yin. She is the Chinese goddess of compassion and fertility, also known as she who hears all prayers. And the story with her is that she was ascending, she heard someone cry, she turned around and decided to live on earth until she healed every cry. So she's really a Bata Vista, but she's also acknowledged as a goddess. So her symbols include white lotus, the number 33, willow, branches, rosary in hand. What was another goddess that was mentioned in there? I talked about Aphrodite already. Okay. So, yeah, I'm just looking at the other goddesses here to see. Let me see here. Okay, so Pele, the volcanic Hawaiian goddess of fire, transformation, seduction, passion, and heart's true desire. Her symbols include fire, white dog, volcano. So if you want that hot passion, that volcanic eruption, Pele, Pele. All right. So that was a quick side note. So now back to your more intricate ritual. Again, think about everything you want to bring into that circle. It's totally up to you. I like to leave some things open-ended because, again, that's part of the journey, and that's what makes it exciting, as opposed to me just telling you step by step by step by step. This is what you do. So I like to leave it a little bit open-ended for that. It's exciting, and I don't like people telling me stuff anyway like that. Like, just give me an outline unless I really need the step by step. What else? And then when you wrap everything up, make sure you clean everything up properly. You say thank you, you show your gratitude, and you let it go. And that's probably the hardest part, is when you work with these deities, when you ask them for their assistance, you got to just let them do their thing. For example, when I started working more on money mindset, actually less even before that, when I started working on spells, where I worked more on, like getting myself ready for love and stuff like that, I had to let that go, which I did. And what happened was my friend messaged me and that she had this a course she was starting to find Mr. Right. And then something else happened. I got to write more of this stuff down. And that's one of my things too. So many things happen, I forget to write them down. It'll come to me, but there were things that were happening to prepare me for, the love of my life. So we got to be open-ended to how these things show up, because I am not the same woman I was. And when did I do that spell? September. I'm not the same woman I was a month ago, 3 months ago, 8 months ago, a year ago. So certain things had to happen, and I'm glad it did. So there was a series of events where some people were already in my life, but they just, contacted me about something else. And I thought that was cool. So when you do these spells, these rituals, this connection, don't get so caught up in where's my guy? Where's my woman? Where's, what's going on? And nothing happened. It might be you got to do some healing first. You got to do some work first, and then that person's coming. Okay, you probably just got to do a little work. We all got work that we need to do, and that's probably it. So pay attention when someone says something. Pay attention when someone invites you to something. Pay attention to that. Do a little internal check-in and see how that feels. Like, oh, you know what? That's odd that they mentioned that, because I was connected with Hathor, and now this. That's interesting. Or I saw this on TV or something. Okay, so just be open. You never know how it's going to come through. I know sometimes we get visions and we hear things and we see things, but sometimes things happen that exceed our expectations. And it was interesting because well, my friend, she suggested to write no more than 15 things of what you want in your lover, but really to write about 12 things and then allow like the three things for the universe to fill in to surprise you. And it's interesting because before that I had a whole page because what have we been told? Be specific as possible, right? And my friend said, well, yeah, that's great, but we got to narrow it down. And, she went on to explain why and stuff like that. So I had to provide my definitions to certain things. And I saw some of the overlaps. And that's another reason why I stress to start creating your own definition of things. Okay. I've been noticing this for several years now, right? How do you define success? It's no longer what's stated in the Webster's dictionary. How do you define success? Because your success is different than that person's success, than that person's success, than that person's success. What's wealth look like to you? What does it mean to be wealthy? What does it mean to be loved and appreciated? What does that look like to you? That's what we got to think about. All right. That's what we got to think about. So I hope that was helpful for you. My example, the simple one, like I said earlier, and the more detailed one, you can even make a spell for several days. Like I did a 3-day spell. Okay. Again, as as you want it. I will say ways to increase the potency of your connection and your spell is to shower beforehand. You want to rinse off the day. If you are doing this in the morning, you just want to rinse off the day before. You just want to make sure you're entering this clean. It's like a date, right? You want to take a shower. You want to smell good. You want to look good. You want to be comfortable. I'm not saying you got to put on, makeup and do your hair, right? Unless you want to, unless that's the vibe you're getting. If you're getting the notion to get sexy, weird lingerie while you're doing this ritual, do it. Right? I suggested comfortable clothes because that's really what you want when you're doing it. You want to be comfortable. But hey, look, you might think I'm going to wear this lingerie and I'm going to, do this candle magic or whatever you want to do. That's fine. Okay, but I noticed that when you cleanse yourself beforehand, I'm not saying you have to fast. You can if you want to. But the main thing is to make sure that you go into this clean and you took some deep breaths so you can release your mind from what's bothering you throughout the day. So if you had a call at your job and you didn't like it, you got to shake that off a little bit. So let that wash down the drain as you're showering. Or maybe your kid got on your nerves. You're like, oh my God, this kid, he's just like his dad. Wash that away in the shower so you can go into this circle, into this connection with a clean slate of sorts. So you can focus on you, not that stupid email, not that stupid coworker, not your kid who's being annoying right now, not the dog who just pooped on the carpet, not your nosy ass neighbor, just you. This is all about you. All right. So that's what I have for you. I'm sending you so many blessings. I am rooting for you as always. Remember to be kind to yourself. I have so many good things for you in the pipeline. I wish I can tell you them all right now, but I can't. I have to wait. It's coming. But yes, stay tuned for more love episodes, love, sex, and everything in between. Almost this month. Again, I even want to tell you the episodes ahead of time, but I can't. That's going to ruin the fun. Oh my gosh, I'm just looking at my calendar for the month. All right, anyway, thank you so much for tuning in. I got my hands over my heart. Thank you so much for tuning in. I love you guys. And I will talk to you soon. The next episode will be, I hope, fun like the other ones, or at least entertaining, educational. My stories are in there. All right. Remember to be kind to yourself. And like I said, I truly appreciate you. Thank you for tuning in. And I'll see you in the next episode. As always, Spiritual Trailblazer, thank you for tuning in. Do make sure to stop by and visit me at tiamariejohnson.com. Also, don't forget to subscribe. Last but not least, be kind to yourself. I'm rooting for you, and I'm sending you so many blessings. Until next time.